Is Dubai property about to crash or will it keep climbing? That's the question everyone is asking right now. And no one knows for certain. But at Prime Capital, we've been tracking a simple pattern that's predicted every major correction in Dubai. And right now, it's showing something that should make every Dubai property investor sit up and pay attention. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the simple line that's predicted every Dubai boom and crash for the past 15 years. What's it showing us today, and exactly what you should do now to make sure your portfolio stays profitable and secure. Section 1. The meltdown line. How Dubai property really moves. Most investors treat Dubai like a straight line, up or down. They react to headlines, influencer sentiment, and last month's transaction numbers instead of seeing the repeating cycle underneath. Now, let me explain you what the meltdown line is in a simple way to visualize where risk is building across the cycle. Instead of asking, is Dubai safe, you track three repeat signals that tend to lead corrections. Transaction volume. Is liquidity accelerating? Price growth. Is price really outrunning reality? And the speculative behavior. Are people buying mainly to sell it to the next buyer? When these signals climb together, the line rises through phases that repeat. Accumulation, quiet, higher yields, low hype. Expansion, which means healthy demand, price rise with fundamentals. Or euphoria, which is prices sprint, hype grows, and the speculation expands. Then there is distribution, which is smart money sells into strength, and capitulation, which is liquidity dries up and the prices reset. The circle at the top is the danger zone, where the markets start looping because everyone's playing the same exit strategy. Stop listening to any Dubai opinion that isn't anchored to a clear cycle model. Now, I know this framework is simple. What's not simple is turning it into a plan. That's why we've put together the 2026 Investor Strategy Kit. It's a data-backed guide to building a high-yield Dubai portfolio. It maps out scenarios to 2026 and shows how we'd position across different budgets and risk profiles so you can align your capital with the data instead of emotion. You can get it using the link in the description below. Now that you understand the basic shape of the meltdown line, the next question is simple. Where exactly are we on it in Dubai today? Most people assume record prices automatically mean we are at the top, or strong demand automatically means we are still early. They look at one headline and try to map it to the entire cycle without context. If you look at the recent cycle, especially from 2021 onwards, you see a sharp recovery from the COVID lows, a broad-based surge in both the end user and investor demand, and then acceleration in new off-plan launches and luxury segment pricing. At the same time, yields in many prime areas have compressed compared to their COVID levels, and flipping activity in some popular launches has increased, with assignments trading even before handover. However, if you overlay this with previous cycles, you'll notice that while prices and volumes are high, there are still differences in leverage levels, regulatory controls, and the profile of buyers compared to, say, back in 2007 or 8 or 2014. So record now isn't an automatic copy-paste of record then. And now let me explain you what I mean by that. On the meltdown line, Dubai today sits late in the expansion phase and edging into early euphoria in certain segments. Prices have run hard, media sentiment is very positive, and there's increasing speculative behavior in some pockets, not all. But we are not yet in a full-blown, across-the-board, over-leveraged capitulation setup. That circle at the top forms where three things align. Yields in most mainstream areas are unattractive relative to global alternatives. A large portion of new buyers are depending on future price appreciation to justify today's entry, and liquidity is coming from more emotional, less informed capital, often chasing quick wins. Right now, some parts of Dubai are closer to that circle than others. Certain luxury off-plan and story projects are flashing late cycle signal signs, while some boring income-focused areas still offer relative value. Audit your current or planned positions by segment and not by Dubai as a whole. This is what I'm telling all my investors repeatedly. Ask yourself, is this area seeing a lot of flipping and assignments, or is Demand mainly with end users and long-term investors. Have yield compressed significantly since 2021, or they are still reasonably attractive? Is the local story around the asset quick flip or hold for income and fundamentals? If two or three of those answers are on the speculative side, treat that asset as being much closer to the circle at the top of the line. Adjust your expectations, your leverage, and your holding period accordingly. Once you know where we are roughly on the line, the obvious next question is, what does that mean for timing? Most investors either expect a sudden cliff-style crash or, on the other side, believe the market will soft land perfectly because of strong fundamentals. At 2008, it was a crash landing for the market because of the global financial crisis. But in 2014, things changed. I was here in 2014. I've seen markets go down consistently from 2014 up until 2019, 2020, till COVID hit. And I exactly know how to navigate that part of the market also, which a lot of advisors in today's market don't know. Why? Because they came to Dubai only in 2021 or 2022, and they've only seen the markets go up from there. Dubai didn't just go up in 1 month and collapse the next. We saw some leading indicators. A slowdown in absorption of new launches, incentives quietly increasing from developers, rent growth stalling relative to price growth, more price reductions in secondary listings. Prices then rolled over multiple quarters with sharper pain in overbuilt and overhyped segments. Investors who exited in the first third of that down move often preserved most of the gains. Those who waited for a better offer or tried to, time the exact bottom saw liquidity evaporate. On the meltdown line, the turn from euphoria to distribution is where the risk quietly flips. The line stops rising as steeply, it starts flattening, and then starts looping into that tight circle. Outwardly, sentiment can still be positive at this point. Launch events still look full, social media is still hyped, and backward-looking data still looks strong. But the marginal buyer becomes more cautious. Financing condition tightens at the edges, and smart money starts offering stocks into strength rather than adding aggressively. Once the distribution phase has run its course, if there's any shock to liquidity, confidence, or global risk appetite, the line drops into a capitulation faster than most retail investors can respond. You don't need to predict exact month of the turn, but you do need a rule set for how you'll behave as the line flattens. For example, decide in advance a yield below a certain percentage, which you won't add more exposure in a given area. Set a target portion of your portfolio you want to have in cash or low risk income by a certain date, such as mid-2026 or 2027. For speculative or luxury positions, predefined price levels or time windows where you will be willing to exit even if the narrative still feels good. Write these rules down when you're calm instead of improvising while the market is moving. So how do you actually use this model to decide what to buy, what to hold, and what to avoid over the next 18 to 24 months? Positioning your portfolio on the line. Most investors adopt a single posture for the whole market, all in Dubai or completely out until it crashes. They fail to differentiate between asset types, time horizons, and their own risk profile relative to where we are on the cycle. Using the meltdown line as your map, your posture in late expansion and in early euphoria should change. For new entries, you prioritize quality, liquidity, and income. You avoid paying peak cycle prices for story projects whose value is mostly in just sentiments. For existing positions with strong fundamentals and reasonable yields, you define clear hold criteria such as minimum yield and an acceptable downside you're willing to tolerate through a correction. That's how most seasoned investors survive different cycles. This is less about predicting doom and more about sequencing your own moves so that you're a buyer when others are forced sellers. Now here's my advice. Take your Dubai exposure and put each asset into one of the 3 buckets on a piece of paper. Number 1, core. Strong locations, solid rental demand, and sustainable yields. Number 2, which is the tactical side. Good story, but more sensitive to sentiment and global liquidity. And number 3 is speculative. Off-plan bets, flips, and assets that only work if prices keep rising. Then overlay the meltdown line and decide what will you keep holding through a normal correction and under what condition. What will you start exiting over the next 6 to 18 months to reduce late cycle risks? Where will you want to deploy fresh capital if and when we move into a genuine accumulation phase again? Once you have that map, you're no longer debating crash or no crash in abstract. You're running a plan. Now, it's one thing to understand the meltdown line conceptually. It's another to translate it into a specific move for your own portfolio. That's where most people get stuck. And that's exactly where having a bespoke plan makes all the difference. If you want a clear plan built around your personal situation, you can book a call with my team. The link is in the description. You now understand the meltdown line and where Dubai likely sits on it today. But there's one more piece that can dramatically change your outcome in this cycle. Knowing exactly which developments are mispriced relative to that line. In other words, even in a late stage market, there are pockets of genuine value where the downside is limited and the upside is still underappreciated. That's where serious money quietly positions before the next big move. So watch this next video where I show you how exactly I spot undervalued developments in 2026 faster than anyone else.